And welcome to the Crawford Podcasting Network. The Adman and Tom. It seems like the tagline for the last few episodes, I go, hey, a pair of 2-0s going out. We're talking about a couple pair of 2-0s, a couple 3-0s, a couple 4-0s, a couple 5-0. Now we're talking about a couple of 6-0s. 2 of 5 Big Ten teams ranked in the top 10, both AP and the college poll. First time ever happened in the Big Ten Conference. Steve Adler, we can hate on each other, but hey, our two teams are part of something historic here, and the Big Ten East is taking over for the SEC West, don't you think?
It's discussed as the best part of the conference in the nation, right? Big Ten East.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This best division in college football right now. I think most people would say it. Once Alabama loses, that shakes up everything, of course.
Yep.
Not that they're dropping out of the top 10. I mean, it's going to take a second loss for that. But
yep.
It shakes everything up. You got Iowa at number 2, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Penn State, Ohio State, your team, my team. Sure, why not?
You know what? But you know what? So, let's embrace that moment. Let's savor that, because let's think about it. All these teams, as crazy as it is to have all these Big Ten teams doing so well, I have never in my entire life, following all the 5-6 decades of watching Big Ten football, have seen the contenders have such backloaded schedules. All of them. October 30th. Think of this. Besides that monumental battle at Spartan Stadium, Michigan State, and that time will be set. We'll find out that in another week. You got Ohio State and Penn State playing. You even got Iowa going to Wisconsin, which could be potential trouble. You just never know, because Wisconsin's got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And then down the line, you got Michigan State. It's got a Penn State, Ohio State, or Ohio State first, then Penn State. Michigan's got Penn State, then Ohio State. It's crazy how it's going to flesh out. And then Iowa's sitting over on that other side. They also have to go Thanksgiving weekend to Lincoln, Nebraska. And we both think highly of the Huskers. We both picked them to beat Michigan. I bet with my not my heart, I bet with my mind. You bet with both your heart and your mind, taking Nebraska, and we were both very close on that. But let's start breaking down these two pair of 6-0s with that 12 o'clock battle in Piscataway, New Jersey, which I thought Michigan State has gotten my attention, basically from week number 1, but the explosibility, let's call it, spurtability, that Clark Kellogg term he uses in basketball, that Michigan State has with Jaden Reed, Jalen Naylor, Speedy Naylor, Kenneth Walker III, Peyton Thorne, that whole, quote unquote skill set has got to be pretty exciting to watch.
It's interesting because, you expect Kenneth Walker to produce every week. As a Spartan fan, he's going to get his carries and he's going to produce. Receiving wise, first it was Jaden Reed for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Punt returns, catches. All of a sudden, Speedy Naylor last couple of games. I firmly think there's going to be a game here where Trey Mosley breaks out and becomes the star of the game.
I'm going to go one. I agree with you on that. I'm going to go one further. Connor Hayward.
Yep.
Something tells me, and it's because it's going to be storybook, because the guys have a really roller coaster career at Michigan State, including leaving the program, coming up, whatever.
Yeah.
I just think he's got a big play in him in a big game where we're going to be talking.
You guys.
Well, I don't want any big plays against Michigan. Okay, let's just that be understood.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you. I think there's, and this is what I said on the Wolverine podcast today. And we'll talk obviously more about Michigan, that J.J. McCarthy is going to have to play a more relevant role, because when you look at position to position, the receiving core at Michigan State, receiving core at Michigan, the running backs, Kenneth Walker, Michigan's got 2 really good physical backs. The quarterback situation, The fact that Michigan State's offensive line is protecting Peyton Thorne and getting him in a rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like Michigan has got to have to come up with something different, additional, to be able to compete with Michigan State. They're going to have to score 31 or 35 minimal to beat Michigan State and Ohio State.
You don't think your defense is going to hold Michigan State down?
No. I mean, I think they can do a serviceable job. I just think they're going to need, I mean, my God, they needed 32 points to beat Nebraska because, there's going to be a special team play. There's going to be a turn. It's just reality. It's reality. And I just think that this is why I said in this podcast, between the bye week and the, de facto bye week Northwestern,
right,
that J.J. McCarthy is going to have to get a lot of snaps in practice. And I think he has to have relevant minutes in a game where he's just not mopping up and going 2 series and then bring Dan Villari the walk-on. I mean, there's got to be something.
You think McCarthy's going to play a key role?
I do. I think he is. I will be surprised because I think they're smart enough to realize. And I'm just being real. I just think that if you want to be, listen, you could probably go 10-2. Sean Clifford does not play for Penn State. You can go and beat Penn State with Cade McNamara and do this conventional way. Okay, with not just a serviceable quarterback, but a good quarterback who's doing. But I think you got to take it another level. And I'm just basing that on what I'm seeing optically from Michigan State.
Didn't you think McNamara actually played pretty well?
I agree. Yes, I do think he played well. But
he played well enough not to get pulled.
Well, Jim Harbaugh is extremely conservative on pulling people. I mean, I've said this all along. Michigan has to lose for Cade McNamara to lose his job. I go back to the 96 Ohio State team, Joe Germain, Stanley Jackson, where the large part of that season, that worked, where you had 2 different kind of quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it's 50-50, maybe it's 7-30. I just think you're going to have to I think J.J. McCarthy is going to pose more of a threat to the Michigan State defense than Cade McNamara. These are just my thoughts, and I'm getting way ahead of the game.
Right.
But that's Michigan State is centric to our podcast. I don't know. That's what I talked about on the podcast. I got some feedback. I got some "you're an idiot" kind of messages and things like that from people, but that's all right. Everybody's got an opinion, but I that's just the way I feel. And I'm not one of these guys who jumps on the freshman quarterback. But I do know that Lincoln Riley in that Texas OU game, which I watched part of my 13-hour bonanza of nonstop,
right,
lazy on your ass on the couch. My Saturday was I was disgusted with myself, but that's all right.
Same.
When he brought Cade Williams in there, or Caleb Williams in there, the freshman, who was a 5-star, mind you, in for Spencer Rattler, the former Heisman Trophy candidate, now that Kenneth Walker III is taking over that role. But that takes major grapefruit-sized balls in my mind to do that. And
I hate to give you credit, but that's actually a really good analogy. I'm not sure that's the right word.
Yeah, example.
Yeah, that's a really good example. I hate to give you so much credit, but you're
right. You're going to have to, because I deserve it. I deserve it
on this one time because that did take some balls from Lincoln Riley.
Major ball
to pull him in the old Cotton Bowl there, and that could have gone horribly wrong.
Horrible.
And I get it. They were down big. I think that's what it's going to take for you guys. I don't think it's going to take a loss. I think you're going to have to be down. I think I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if Michigan State did get out to a lead and got out to a 17-point lead, I think then you're going to bring in McCarthy. Is how I think it's going to go.
And then we're going to go back. Then we're going to go 99 all over again when the last time you had 2 top 10 teams. And people people go back to this Brady thing, Drew Henson, why was he doing this? Why, and then Lloyd got ripped. Go back and watch the tape of that game. Go back and watch that first quarter performance or lack thereof of Tom Brady drilling the ball 7 to 10 yards into the ground in front of the receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden in comes Drew Henson and he hits Marcus Knight on a fly pattern down the eastern sidelines. And all of a sudden there, I mean, that's just how that shit works out,
Right.
It's
not to play revisionist history here, but I remember that game very well. And at least in the second half, Henson wasn't doing anything, and Brady almost brought you guys back.
Oh, I know that. I know that. I understand that. And Henson threw, but I'm just you got to be luckier than who knows what you're playing with college kids. I get it, but I just get defense. I defend Lloyd Carr in that situation, and I don't want to go back to that whole scenario again. But when we're talking about two quarterbacks, and what are you going to do? I mean, is this going to cause? All I know is this team is, from my understanding, is totally bought into the two quarterbacks, willing to do whatever it takes to win, and including Cade McNamara, who is the ultimate team player. So I will be surprised. I will be shocked, Steve Adler, if you're not watching number 9 out there for a lot of snaps wearing that white jersey on October 30th.
I thought McNamara played pretty well, other than his post-game Ohio State comments. What was that all about?
I didn't even hear that. What did you say?
Something about we're looking forward to Ohio State, or it was something referencing Ohio State was on their minds. I'm like, that's
their benchmark. That's been their theme. They practiced for Ohio, because here's that came out. That came out of Indianapolis at Big Ten Media Days. From Hayden, from the three guys. He wasn't even, Cade was not there, but Aiden Hutchinson was, and Haskins was, and Josh Ross was. They all talk about Ohio State is a benchmark of preparation. We prepare Ohio State every day, and there's nobody in the Big Ten that exceeds Ohio State on what it's going to take to required to, for us not to, to beat that kind of team. That's why that's referenced.
I get it, but I'm not sure you want that.
Oh, I agree.
That should be an internal thing. That'd be like Michigan State talking shit about Alabama after they rolled us a few times in a row. We're coming after Alabama. What? Maybe don't say that out loud.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And we're merging our dialogue, which is fine. But I'm gonna go back to the 94-yard touchdown run. Kenneth Walker. The handshake with Speedy Naylor. What do you think about that?
That's fine.
You had no problem. I mean, that could have raised a flag potentially.
Well, so could eating corn on the cob after scoring a touchdown.
No, I know that was post. That was, yeah, absolutely. This was actually during the play.
Right, which meant it was spur of the moment. A guy running beside you don't plan that, but you do plan eating corn on the cob after a touchdown. So one of them is just two athletes enjoying the moment, and another one is scripted. Let's pull out a Sharpie and sign a football. Type of a thing. So,
we had, I was on our TV show with Darian Harris, a former Michigan State captain who's has a staff position of, engagement with a player engagement.
Right.
And, he basically indicated there is going to be a conversation from Mel Tuck. It wasn't one of those scolding moments or everything like that, but I don't think they want to have that anymore. I mean, and it's the same thing with Dax Hill. I knew when Dax Hill did his little taunting after the play moment, but you don't trust a situation of after the play, of taunting. That he could have cost his team the game. Right. And for the life of me, I don't understand why you just can't just resist jubilation until you're running off the field, at least. I mean, that was dicey.
But we're sounding like two old.
Oh, we're very, get off my lawn, slow down kind of people.
Turn the music down. But all I'm saying is the Kenneth Walker, Jalen Naylor was much more innocent in that it was just a quick look at us. We're so far ahead of everyone. Let's just do. And it wasn't over the top. There was nothing to that.
And I asked you the question without even I I just to get your opinion. I mean, I didn't have any problem. I didn't even have any problem with it at the time.
Right.
I thought it was kind of like, wow. I mean,
I thought if you were going to come at me for anything, it was going to be the right before halftime cluster, you know what, clock, game, miss field goal, almost run out the clock. Like that's legitimate. You can get on.
No, but you know what? That actually, it's funny you bring that up because that actually concerned me more because they're still doing that clusterfuck stuff. And they're cleaning that up. It was a residual over the last couple years. Let's be real. But I know Mel Tucker's going to clean that up. Well, and then that adds to that raises the ceiling when you clean that stuff up. Yeah. Then you really are going to have a good team.
Yeah, my wife wasn't too happy with my screaming at the TV after about the third penalty in a row and almost running the clock out. But there was, listen, Connor Hayward, he got hurt. He was calling to get out of the game. It screwed up everything. So there was some mitigating factors there. But yeah, they should have called the timeout. And then, you know, that play right before they kicked where they almost ran the clock out when Peyton Thorne was scrambling around a little too long.
Right.
Just throw the damn ball out of bounds.
Throw it out of bounds.
So yeah, it was a little bit, but I mean, we're nitpicking if that's what. I mean,
so you texted me now. Yeah, now you guys, we got our game. I'm going to crack a beer and relax and watch this Nebraska game. So take us through that whole procedure for you. Did you watch the Michigan-Nebraska game or did you have one eye on it and you're doing something else?
No, I was watching.
Your overall thoughts of Michigan's 32-29 victory over Nebraska?
Well, it's typical Nebraska. It's typical Adrian Martinez. You play a pretty good game for the most part, but you find a way to lose. I thought, okay. I told you I'd give your team credit. I give your team credit. You went into a
You did. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yep. I'm going to give your team credit because they went in and won that game, and that's a tough game to win. I don't care that they don't have a number by their name. That's a decent team. That's a good win. But, you know, I can't just let it go just like that.
It's not in your DNA.
That fumble by Martinez, boy, the refs really let that play drag out.
I'll stop you right there. I've watched that play a number of times. I watched the Big Ten at 63 different times since that game. When your feet keep moving, and when your feet are moving, you're basically asking the ref, this play's not over with. And his feet were moving when Brad Hawkins, it was like they were going up and down. Okay. Now, keep in mind, I have seen countless times in the same scenario, the defense gives up thinking the play's over. The quarterback takes off for a 60-yard run. I mean, you have to play not only to the whistle blowing, you got till it starts chirping at you.
Yeah, it was a bit long. I was like, don't you protect the quarterback at some point where you just go, if it's a running back, I get it. But if it's
he is a running back. He was playing the role as a running back.
All right. You know what I mean?
I mean, and Adrian Martinez is, but you know, and I got pissed off on their first touchdown. You score a touchdown and you have 6 men in the line of scrimmage. They had 5 guys in the backfield. How do you miss that call? 7 men on, 4 off.
Well,
how does that happen?
There was a lot of weird calls. There was a pass interference against Nebraska where your receiver just ran into a linebacker and who was just standing there. I'm like, that's not pass interference.
But you know what? You made a good point. They found a way to win in a tough environment. I mean, I knew Michigan was going to have a hard time beating Nebraska when Michigan State's playing Nebraska at home a couple weeks prior, and they're down by 7 late in the game. They didn't register a first down in the entire second half. That shows you against Michigan State's offense, which we've been raving about for the last 20 minutes here. They got to be good, and that was at home.
Yeah.
So you go to Lincoln.
I've already discussed it. I think Peyton Thorne was shaken up that second half. I already talked about it. And I could say the same thing about Rutgers and their defense against you guys in the second half. What'd you get? How many first downs?
Just a couple.
4 3 and outs, right?
Yeah, four straight 3 and out. No, it's bad, and it's like you got to take all these. You got to take all these games. They're almost like They're almost like separate entities.
Yeah.
All these games because these teams change. Now, Rutgers is to me. You're playing Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State. I mean, they got nothing in the tank right now.
Loss. Yeah.
I mean, that wears on you. It's like, I'll tell you a perfect example is that Miami played Alabama in the opener, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the following week they come home and they play Appalachian State, Miami required a field goal to win the game. Okay. And I'm not dissing on Miami in that game as a bad team. I'm just saying when you play certain teams like Miami playing Alabama, you need another week to recover.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happened to Rutgers playing Michigan and Ohio State back to back.
Yeah. And in some ways it's happened in Nebraska. I mean, I know they had the tune-up the week prior with Northwestern.
Right.
But those devastating losses are just I think it's tough as a college athlete. I'm guessing, of course, I never played near that, but I'm just saying it's just human nature. It's tough to keep getting up when you get heartbroken. But I'm going to go back to what I was saying. I'm going to give you guys credit because I said I would. Here's what I'm going to give you credit for. Your line in the second half, when Nebraska kind of figured you guys out a bit, and they exposed your defense in some ways, your line opened up holes for your running backs.
Yeah.
And that to me was the worrying sign from my Sparty point of view, that your line against that defensive line made things happen late in the game.
Well, Schoolmaker, the backup tight end getting a key block on the Haskins hurdle run, things like that. They're getting blocks from the tight ends that it did not get last year. I think that's a really good point. So we're sitting here. I mean, I asked you this question last week. I'll ask you again. We talked about the feasibility of a pair of 7-0s going into the Michigan State game on October 30th. And I mean, I will be shocked. I don't care if they're fearing about beer bottles being thrown like a la 1997. I think game day should be at any fancy. Just make it happen. Come on, make it happen. Secure it, whatever. And get the ass clowns away from you, whatever it takes. Michigan State deserves to be able to host that. Do you still they each got a bye week. Michigan's bye week's first, Michigan State's second. I mean, are you embracing the pair of 7-0s? Because it sure as hell looks like it's going to happen.
Well, you guys are undefeated already. I mean, you guys could throw out your third team against Northwestern, and that's going to happen. So you're already there. So now I have to embrace it. Nebraska was my last hope. Guys, I'm going undefeated. So now I have no choice but to embrace this thing and just hope Michigan State's not looking ahead. And I don't think they will. I think Mel has the right mindset with this team. I'm not suggesting it's going to be super easy, but I think, and we can get to our predictions soon enough here, but I think Michigan State's going to pull away in a hard-fought battle, but I think the score will be big enough that they'll look like a comfortable win.
Oh, no doubt. I don't think they're going to be uncomfortable in this game. I just call it the way I see it. I knew they were going to roll over Rutgers. I mean, at 21-13, it felt like Michigan State was up by 3 touchdowns. I mean, that was before the 94-yard run by K9.
Jalen Naylor was setting records left and
right.
right.
I mean, and it's like, have you ever thought Shiano maybe of bringing some safety help on the back, get some help over top? Have you thought about that kind? Yeah, I mean, you're mano on this dude. Yeah. Are you asking? I mean, you're like asking for it.
Yeah, and the double moves, and they didn't know those DBs.
Oh my God,
whether they were coming or going.
I mean, the Naylor double move, that reminded me, that's like Sandlot football where you switch directions and all of a sudden you're running away from a guy.
That's my hope against you guys. That's my hope. My hope is that the line gives Thorne enough time to throw, and if the line can come through and keep Hutchison and your D line and pick up your stunts, your linebacker blitzes and corner blitz, whatever you guys throw at us. If Thorne has time I think our receivers are going to torture DBs just like last year, because I'm sure they're improved, but they haven't improved that much.
No, I mean, I worry about Vincent Gray. Are you kidding me? I mean, I like our two safeties, but the corner work and Jamon Green, don't do the Charles Woodson thing freshman year. Let the ball go through your hands. You could have closed out that game.
Oh, 95.
Yeah, 95. I mean, it was, these things come back at me, and it's just like, oh, almighty, But Jamon Green came up with a big stop on Nebraska on that third down last possession in Nebraska. He had a textbook tackle open field. So it's guys making plays. Okay, so Michigan's got. I mean, would you rather have? And I asked Arian Harris this, and about having a bye week before the rival, or having basically 2 weeks to scheme for that one game.
Mm-hmm.
Or would you rather have maybe, and there's no choice in this matter, so this is just for fun discussion.
Yep.
Would you rather have Michigan situation where you got the bye week, right, the halfway point, 6 down, 6 to go, and then you kind of get your feet back on underneath you and a quote unquote tune-up game, which I like. I like Michigan's situation, to be honest with you.
I like Michigan State's.
Really,
I like the fact that there's no time to get distracted right now, because we have Indiana. Michigan State has Indiana, like, obviously right around the corner, and you got to prep for that game. I would much rather have that for my team than take a week off and then have to get up for Indiana and then face you guys.
Well, I'm telling you what, historically, from Michigan State's standpoint, I know where you're coming from. This goes back to 1997. Both teams were undefeated 2 weeks prior to Michigan State. The week before, Michigan State goes to Evanston and lost on a field goal at the end. Remember that, right before the 97. It's not registered.
I don't remember the Evanston game. I remember the game against you guys very well.
Yeah, the Charles Woodson, or Why So Quiet, and
get out of here.
That kind of stuff.
We could have had a month off. We could have played. It didn't matter when we were playing that game. We weren't winning that game.
But Lloyd Carr tried to keep that game close, man.
He did.
He tried. He really did.
He did.
Says, come on, guys.
He did everything in his power.
We got to keep people in their seats, folks. Let's be conservative. Let's miss a couple field goals and
let's give Cedric the trick touchdown to start the game.
There you go, man. Hey, another superb job. We'll meet again up next week. I might as well open my cold beer this weekend and watch Michigan State at nooner.
Put your feet up, relax.
Yeah, no absolutely. Pressure. As if fans have any control over it, but I'm going to make a prediction that Michigan State is probably in the neighborhood of a 35-14, 3-touchdown win. What are your thoughts on that? What's your score?
I thought about it beforehand. We're pretty close. I said 38-17.
Yeah.
And it's not that I think Michigan State's that much better. I think this is due to Mel keeping the team focused.
Yeah.
And the team not looking ahead, not like your quarterback talking about Ohio State. We are focused on Indiana. My team is focused on Indiana and Indiana only, and they're going to take care of business.
Okay, and you heard here from Steve Adler.
Mm-hmm.
Stevie Adler in the Crawford Podcasting Network, along with Tom Crawford, the ad man, and Tom, another Michigan State-centric broadcast we do every Tuesday afternoon. We're going to post it on Facebook. Also, Tom State Community Facebook community page. So great job, Stevie, and we'll talk to you next week. We're counting down, man. We're under 2 weeks from today.
My heart can't take it.
2 weeks from today is going to be game week.
If my Spartans survive Indiana, it's going to be a hell of a long 2 weeks. And I'm not going to enjoy the day until my team wins, and then I can smile. But you know what it's like. We don't enjoy those games.
No, those are brutal.
It's not fun.
No, that's painful. Michigan State games they're painful. They truly are painful.
Yeah. Now when you win, it's everything in the world, and it's
you got a shot of penicillin right in your ass, and you feel great.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, Stevie. Stay safe.
All right, go drink them.